Toastmaster Kim Liming.
Oh my gosh, I lost my video. Give me 1 second. I am so sorry. I'm here. Sorry for the delay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone to Online Presenters Toastmasters. The theme of the day today is laughter is the best medicine. The word of the day is hilarious. I chose this theme because I believe that you can never have enough laughter in your life. As such, I'll start this meeting with one of my favorite jokes. How do you get a blonde to marry you? Wait for it, wait for it. Tell her she's pregnant. Just ask my husband. That's how it worked for him. Just kidding. What did the blonde say after giving birth to her first child? What she said is, are you sure it's mine? And did you guys hear about the concrete mixer and the prison bus that crashed on the highway? Police advised citizens to look out for a group of hardened criminals. One last one. There was a man who heard a joke that was so hilarious that he died from laughter. After investigating, CSI concluded that it was a killer joke. Okay, ready for the meeting? Our meetings consist of 3 main parts. The first part is the prepared speeches. This is where people present a speech for a particular project. The second part is table topics. This is the impromptu speaking part of the meeting where we practice speaking off the cuff. Often these impromptu speeches give us hilarious results. And the final part is the evaluation portion of the meeting. Each speaker will receive an evaluation. This is a great opportunity for us to all learn from the feedback each speaker receives. It may seem like Toastmaster of the Day runs the meeting, but it's really a whole group of people. I will not be running this meeting all by myself. I have a lot of help. I will now introduce the people who will be assisting me. They will each have 1 minute to describe their role for tonight's meeting. First off, we have the timer, Brian David Crawford. Brian, would you please tell us your duties as timer?
Aloha, my name is Brian. As many of you know, I'm a tech-savvy person, so I've studied high and low, looking all around the web to find the most advanced way to handle timing duties, and I found it. It's the Toastmasters app. If you don't have the Toastmasters app on your phone, you really are missing out on one of the worst apps in all of Apple Marketplace. It times you, it lets you pick a person, it lets you pick a speech. That's all it does. I'll be starting the time, rotate the camera, and the time will just run for you guys. And that is off at the end of the day, it has a report. So it keeps track of everyone's time for the whole meeting. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Kim.
Thank you, Brian. Next up is our counter, Lucas Calafell. I'm sorry, Lucas, I destroyed that. Lucas, could you please describe your duties tonight?
Sure, and as a matter of fact, you did get my last name correct. My duties tonight as the counter is to listen carefully for the common crutch words that we use in everyday speech, ahs, ums, well, so's, you knows, and anything else that comes up that seems to come off as a crutch word. Towards the end of the meeting, I will give a report. Back to you.
Thank you, Lucas. Next up is our grammarian, Antoinette Schrim. Antoinette, could you please describe your duties for tonight?
Sure. As grammarian, I will take the use of the English language and not so good use of the English language. We all know the word of the day is hilarious, which means extremely amusing. For example, some people don't like his comedy, but I think he's hilarious. And I'll provide a report at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Kim.
Thank you, Antoinette. Tonight's watcher is Calvin Dorsey. Calvin, could you please share your duties for tonight?
Absolutely. I'll be doing just as the name indicates. I'll be watching you. I'll be listening to you. I'll be looking at the chat box in terms of what is it that you're saying to other members? Are you being supported? I'll be watching your attention span. In other words, I'll be taking a look at what's going on visually in terms of its impact on the entire meeting. It'll be fun. Just relax and let's get this thing going.
Thank you, Calvin. Tonight's chat monitor is Deborah Carr. Deborah, could you please describe your role?
My role is very basic, very simple, and I am here, Kim, to support you. So anything that is going on in the chat that needs to be brought to anyone's attention, just like BCD put the link in for, I think that's what, anyway, if anybody puts a link in, I'll bring it up and let everyone know. That's it. And as always, we kind of just seal our lips when we have our speakers giving their presentations. That's it.
Thank you, Deborah. Our vote counter for tonight is Donna Knight. Donna, could you please talk about your role for tonight?
Yes, Madam Toastmaster of the day, voting is no joking matter. If you have a choice in terms of our best table topic, best speaker, best evaluator, I'm just asking you to send me a private chat and we will reveal it later. Back to you, Toastmaster of the meeting.
Thank you, Donna. This brings us to the prepared speeches portion of the meeting. Our first speaker tonight is Birgit Starmanns. Her evaluator is Jim Barber. Jim, would you please describe Birgit's objectives for tonight?
That's funny, Madam Toastmaster. You completely caught me off guard there. I can't give you the formal objectives that that Birgit has for her presentation, but in talking with her ahead of time, what she is trying to do is to give vocal variety, suitable vocal variety, but yet be authentic in her presentation. This is a careful balance that she's going to have to do between being a performer and yet being authentic, and doing this while she's telling a story. That's what I'm going to be looking for.
Thank you, Jim. Birgit's speech is titled Connections. This is Visionary Communication Level 1 Mastering Fundamentals, Evaluation and Feedback. Second speech. Please welcome DTM Birgit Starmanns. Connections.
The word connections is probably the most misinterpreted word in the language. Think about a couple of examples. I am connecting wire 1 to wire B. That's a connection. I hope he asks me on a date again. I really felt that connection. Well, that's a relationship. Well, I really hope that I'm connecting correctly to my dance partner because I need to be able to follow him. That's another kind of connection. I hope I can really connect with my audience to help realize my message and have you receive the message in the way that I intended it. There are so many different connections that are out there. Well, which one is the right one? I always tend to go back to the dictionary definition. And interestingly, it defines a connection as a relationship between persons, ideas, and things. So that means all of the examples that I just gave you are really different connections that we have out there. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and I'm going to start in the dance world. As you may know, I am a ballroom dancer, and I compete with my instructor in the category of pro-am, him being the pro, I'm being the amateur part of the equation. And one of the critiques usually of pro-am is that students are faking their connections. So it's a very inauthentic way of doing it, because really we come across as, I am holding hands with my partner. My instructor told me to put my hand here. Therefore, I'm going to do that. But you can see that it's not very authentic. It's just kind of pretending to connect. Because when you think about ballroom, there are different connections. There are connections of your feet to the floor. There's a connection to the audience. But again, the most important one is your connection to your partner. And initially you're thinking, well, okay, well, I'm holding hands. So I'm holding hands with my partner, except holding hands like this is not typically the connection. If you hit a cool line, your partner, the leader is actually grabbing your wrist this way. Sometimes in order to lead you, it's almost like a karate chop. He pushes you this way. You're not grabbing a hand. So the second that you know that a student is faking a connection, you can kind of see them grasp for their instructor's hand. It's not real, and there's no way that he can lead you that way. So it's interesting that you can see that a connection is not very authentic. That usually means that the instructor is basically hauling that student's behind across the floor in order to get them to do what needs to be done. In a real connection, just even the slightest touch, even if it's not clasping hands, if I move my shoulders this way, there's a different weight in the palm of his hand, or a different part of my hand that connects to his. If I turn my shoulders this way, it's a different kind of connection. So it's all these subtleties that work together in order to really connect. And that way he can just move his hand in a very, very slight way. And I can read that signal through the hand that he's creating with his body to allow me to follow him. And that signal could be to slow down because there's another couple in the way on the ballroom floor. There is a signal to maybe speed up. There's a signal to, well, we've got a lot more room on the floor. Let him just lead another pattern. So the connection between partners is very important. And it's not just the physical connection. It's also the connection of looking at each other, because there's that emotional connection that you're trying to create as a partnership on the ballroom floor. If I'm dancing with my partner, I'm not going to spend my entire time looking away from him and just looking at the audience. So really having that connection, also a visual connection. And that way he can actually make a couple of darts with the head that will also help him lead me as we're dancing in the floor. Now, what does that have to do with speaking? The whole idea of authenticity versus artificial connection. When we're giving a speech, what we really want to do is connect with our audience. Well, we don't have the same kind of connection that we do in ballroom dancing. We're not going to go out and shake everybody's hand, especially if we're lucky enough to be presenting in front of maybe hundreds of people or thousands of people. That's not the kind of connection that we have. So therefore, it becomes more of an emotional connection, and it becomes more of a gesture and eye contact kind of connection, because the way that we usually practice connection in front of a room, it's not going to be physical, it's not going to be touching. We're using gestures in order to do that. But how many times have we seen gestures that just don't seem very authentic? I was just at a conference last week where I presented for the first time in 2 years after COVID, and it was a physical conference, and there are a couple of pictures of me, and just because I said first, I was not pointing. I could see in the pictures I was using gestures. Yes, I want to talk about this point, I want to talk about that point, but I didn't start counting artificially. I recently saw a kind of local contest where somebody was talking about the number 16, and the person held up this. I think she meant 1-5 or 16 or 16 and 1 or 1 and 5. This is not 16. So in order to really start counting on fingers, the gestures became completely disassociated. If she's trying to say 15, 1 and 5 isn't doing it. 16, don't hold up just the 6. It became very distracting from the actual message. And I think sometimes we're so worried about, are we using the correct gesture? Are we maybe exaggerating? I watched a couple of videos of the World Championship, and everybody who's pregnant was cradling their stomach or hugging themselves. And at some point it turned into a bit of a pantomime for me, which is horrible to say because these are some great speakers, but I felt that every word seemed to have to be punctuated by a gesture. The same is true of eye contact. When we have eye contact with a conversation partner or in person, we don't stare down one person. I mean, yes, of course, on Zoom, it's important that we have that connection, and that is through the camera. So it's very difficult for me to read everybody's facial expressions right now. But when we normally talk to a person, we don't stare them down as if we don't blink. So I feel like many times we are very artificial in the way that we try to depict those connections, just like that student that puts their arm somewhere or clasps their instructor's hand because they're faking a connection. It's not very authentic. But to me, it's almost the need to go back to figuring out, how do we normally communicate? What are our normal gestures? What is our normal eye contact? Because typically we do look away very briefly as we're thinking. We don't stare down our conversation partner. So when it comes to connections, to me, being as authentic as possible without being over the top is a critical skill that I'm hoping to practice as part of this presentation. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Birgit, for a wonderful speech that I really connected with. Our second speaker tonight is Pamela Benjamin. Pamela's evaluator is Andrei Smolenko. Andrei, could you please list Pamela's objectives for tonight?
Well, certainly, Madam Toastmaster of the day. And Pamela's objectives for tonight is inspire her audience. Pamela has jumped into her speaker's role almost at the last minute, and she will be telling us a heartbreaking story. I'm really looking forward to hearing her story and evaluating, bearing in mind, inspiration will be the key. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Andre. Her speech is titled Move. Please welcome DTM Pamela Benjamin with Move.
Thank you, Kim. I'm going to talk to you about something that's really heavy on my heart. The last few years, I've become more and more passionate about aging, wellness, and moving. You see, I came from a family that didn't really care so much about it. And for a long time, I didn't care so much about it. I started walking my dog, and I started getting more and more active, but pretty much I was sedentary. I want to encourage my friends and online presenters to become more active as we age. Now, every one of us is getting older every day. Did you know that? We are. Now, it doesn't seem like you notice those days go by, but as the days turn into weeks and years, you notice subtle changes. And over time, those changes go faster and faster. And none of us can really stop the aging process. Or can we? There's some things that we can do. I really like what the cancer.org has to say about strength training. Now, most people, when they hear about strength training, they think of bodybuilders and people with weights and maybe Jane Fonda doing different workouts. They really don't think of it for themselves. And I would really like you all to think differently about weight training. Cancer.org had this to say: 2 to 3 20 or 30-minute strength training sessions every week can have significant health benefits as we age. Now, why is that? Well, our muscles get bigger. We might not become Arnold Schwarzenegger, but what's going on is the decline of our muscles, it's reversing that. As we are working with weights and causing those muscles to work and sometimes get sore, it actually strengthens that. Not only does it help our muscles, but it helps our skeletal systems. As we age, our bones may get weaker if we are not using weights and other movement therapy. But I want to give you 2 good reasons why this is important. I was very, very active, and a girlfriend of mine in a previous club, we were talking about dieting. And she told me, I don't think there is, I can go on another diet. I can't stand it. The thought of weighing and measuring all these different things and then going to the gym and sweating. And I said, well, what's your why? Why do you want to do it? She goes, oh, I just want to look better. I said, well, that's a great idea, but is there another reason? Is there some other reason? She said, I don't think so. And I said, well, how about as we age? Isn't it nice to be able to go to the grocery store and carry your groceries in and out of the store? Your husband just had 2 hip replacements, and you are helping him a lot more than you ever did before. And it's got to be physically challenging. She said, oh my word, is it challenging? I said, and it's going to get worse if you are not working out and maintaining the muscles and the strength you have in your cardiovascular system. That totally changed her perspective, totally changed it from What do I need to look at to how am I going to live the rest of my life? Now, we can't anticipate everything that may happen, but there's a lot of things that we can do. Now, see this picture of these young men with the weights in the weight room? We've all thought that that's for younger people or for certain people who are really, really athletic or who are really, really passionate about those things. But I want to say, by doing this a little bit, you can make drastic changes in your life. I signed up to learn more about a swim clinic. And the person they had me talk to before I talked to the swim clinic experts was someone who had been a trainer. And I was really interested on what his story was. His story was he had helped a lot of young men with weights in the gym, and he could help them get stronger, especially men in their 20s and 30s. They could make dramatic impact. But he found that the greatest impact he ended up having after several years of doing this was helping older women who wanted to be able to play with their grandchildren. They developed so much more strength, and they developed more mobility from working with him. So I would like to challenge my friends here at Online Presenters to move more. Not only move, but incorporate weight-bearing exercises. I'm not asking anyone to run for the Boston Marathon. If that's what you want to do, I'm all for it. But small changes like this, consistent and increasing the weight and the reps over time will have dramatic results on the aging process for you, and it will give you a better quality of life. My experience, when I started doing weights, I really didn't want to do it. And I just needed to get stronger with swimming, and my arms were not as strong as they needed to be. And so I dragged my feet, and finally I found an app. And on this app, it broke things down really, really simply so that I didn't have to figure everything out. I could just do 20 minutes and then I could get in and out. Well, that little app really changed my mind about going to the gym and being on weights. See, I used to think that only men did it. There were some girls, but mostly men. But through that process, I have become much stronger and passionate about older people using weights as we age to maintain quality of life. I want to encourage you also to tip your toe in that and try some of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. Our finals, for a very thought-provoking speech and on a subject that's becoming more and more relevant to me with each passing day. Our final speaker for the night is Mary Dilling. Mary's evaluator is Surya Vangela. Surya, could you please share Mary's objectives for tonight?
Absolutely thrilled to do so, Toastmaster Kim. Today, Mary Ruth Dilling wants to incorporate the feedback she got for her speech one, which was to add in more a call to action and decide where it belongs in her speech. And secondly, the second part of the feedback was to remove a busy background on this virtual Zoom session. So I'm thrilled to be your evaluator tonight, Mary Ruth Dilling, and good luck.
Thank you. Mary Ruth's speech is from Innovative Planning Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals, Evaluation and Feedback. Second speech. Please welcome DTM Mary Ruth Dilling, Life in the 1%.
As professionals, I'm sure many of you have heard of the Myers-Briggs personality assessment. This assessment offers a range of 16 personality combinations. The Myers-Briggs is one of the world's most popular tools of this type because it works and it's very accurate. It's used by more than 85% of the Fortune 500 companies in 115 countries, and it is available in 29 languages. This assessment tool is used by many for self-awareness and improvement. This tool helps identify 4 different areas of personality. How do you direct and receive energy? By focusing on the outside world, interacting with people and taking action, or by focusing on the inner world, reflecting on ideas, memories, and experiences? How do you take in information? By focusing on what you perceive with your 5 senses, or by seeing the big picture and looking at relationships and patterns? How do you decide and come to conclusions? By logically analyzing the situation, or by considering what's important to the people involved? How do you approach the outside world? In a planned, orderly way, or a more flexible, spontaneous way? Your natural preferences in these 4 areas sort you to one of 16 distinct Myers-Briggs personality types. Understanding these types gives you objective insight that you can use to enhance your personal and professional relationships, as well as your direction, focus, and choices. I want to share a bit of my own personal experience with taking this test. I am an INFJ. I've mentioned it before. It is the rarest of the personality types. First, I will explain the 4 letters. There are 4 pair sets: introversion, extroversion. This is how you receive energy. I'm an introvert, but many may consider me extroverted, as I do enjoy being with people, at least for a period of time. The main emphasis here is how you recharge. I have to have time alone to recharge. Sensing, intuition. Sensing is looking at the real world through the 5 senses, whereas myself, as an intuitive, gather information from associations and my gut. I focus on possibilities and what might be. Although I do observe things in the world around me, I assess these things through my gut and intuition. I rely heavily on intuition. Thinking and feeling. With the thinking choice, a person may analyze a situation from an objective standpoint. With myself, I'm a feeling response. I weigh a decision based on human values and motives. I will make a decision based on personal values and what I perceive is best for everyone involved. Since I have a strong spiritual faith, I use the Bible as the standard for all my decisions. Lastly, there is judging, perceiving. Regarding how you look at the outside world, I am the judging response. It sounds like a negative characteristic, but it simply means that I prefer to live in a planned and organized manner. I enjoy coming to a closure and making a decision. Now, this may sound funny when you consider that I can decide from an intuitive standpoint like that. I can even decide out of the blue on a situation because of a gut feeling I receive without any planning. Introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. When I meet someone who tell me they wish to get to know me better, I tell them to read the INFJ description and they will know me almost completely. Before I took this test over 25 years ago, I was a very confused young woman. I appeared even to myself a mass of contradiction. I was a mess in all ways. And this picture shows some of the conflicts I felt as a youngster compared to me as an adult. I was offered to take the test for free. I never realized until I got the results of my test what a life-changing experience this simple assessment would end up being. The dichotomy of being an INFJ. Here are a few of the unusual aspects of life as an INFJ. I have many friends across the country and around the world. However, many of them still have a hard time understanding me. They consider me like the eccentric aunt. In summary, the perfect way for me to describe life in the 1% is like living connected to the world from a one-way valve, but lacking anyone connecting with you. We feel so intensely and think so deeply that the majority of surface dwellers of the world have no interest in making the effort to make that connection. If you have not taken this test before, I strongly recommend it. Maybe like me, you are a bit out of step with the rest of the world at large, do not know why others simply do not get you. This test could open a new world of understanding. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mary Ruth, for another excellent presentation for tonight. Again, our timer tonight is Brian David Crawford. Brian, could you please give a timer's report for the 3 speeches?
Sure thing. The timer's report is I have Birgit at 7:21, Pamela at 7:23, and Mary at 7:55. So.
Thank you, Brian. If you could please post that in the chat, that would be great. And now if everyone could please take a moment to cast your vote for the best speaker of the day, that would be great. And thank you so much. We now move on to the table topics impromptu portion of the meeting. Tonight's table topic master is Hector Cabrera Farja. Please welcome Hector.
Thank you very much, Kim. When I was a kid, I waited every month for my parents' subscription arrival of Reader's Digest with this laughter is the best medicine segment. Some of those jokes were hilarious. Some of those jokes I couldn't understand until I moved to the US and understand a little bit the culture. But that was one of the highlights of my month. I thought about a few funny questions. Hope we have a good time with them. And I'm going to be targeting people that don't have a role tonight. And the first one, I want to be giving a welcome to our newest member, Erling. I'd love to ask you this question. Tell us about a difficult experience in your life that looking back now, you can laugh about it. Tell us about a difficult time in your life that when you look about it, now you can laugh.
Thank you, Table Topics Master. One day, I was trying to pass an airport security. And then the security officer said, hey, just left your big bottle of perfume with me. You can't take this to the plane. And I said, gift, birthday gift from someone I love. He said the bottle is too big and you can't take with it. And I say, oh, can I pour some of the perfume out and leave just 100 milli so that I can take it to the plane? He said, sorry, no, you can't do that. Then what I did was, well, because I love that perfume so much, it was from my dear dad. It was my birthday gift. So I just sprayed the perfume as much as possible before I left the security, to me and to all of my staff around me. And then when I got on the plane, well, I felt sorry because I had a strong scent. I felt sorry for the people who sat around me. What I'm trying to, when I look back at this, I look so stupid, I believe. It's just a perfume, and I don't have to make everybody around me suffer so much by the strong smell. You think that I was stupid? I thought I was. But how could I be that stupid? Where did I get the idea? I got the idea from a Toastmasters speech. My mentor, or one of my mentors in my previous Toastmasters club, told the story. He did the same thing. And when I came across the same situation, subconsciously, I just did the same thing. When I look back at this, well, I always laugh and sometimes I tell the stories to my fellow Toastmasters and they were laughing too. Back to TTM, Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. I probably will have felt just like you, and I just wrote down what to do in a similar situation. Okay, next question. I'm just gonna say it at the open and look for a victim. What's the most unique or silliest problem you have going in your life at the moment, or maybe a problem you had at the past? When that you say, yeah, it's a problem, but it's a silly problem. Okay, what about April? You care to share with us? I can see your laugh already.
Good day, fellow Toastmasters and guests. The most silliest problem I have going on at the moment is my dear husband is in the process of retiring at the young age of 45. And he had the opportunity to just stay calm and just relax and not have to seek employment. But my husband is not able to stay and sit still and relax and enjoy employment. Instead, he likes to go around the home and find activities of things to do. Recently, when I went to brush my teeth, I turned the water faucet on and water went everywhere. And he told me that he noticed the water pressure. There was something wrong with it. There was nothing wrong with the water pressure. So now when I turn the water on, water just explodes everywhere. So I told my husband that he needs to look into maybe finding other activities to do other than finding projects around the home. This afternoon, he was fixing something around our refrigerator. He had our full refrigerator pulled from behind in our kitchen. So I'm thinking that he's going to have to maybe look for a part-time job. So it's not a weird problem, but I don't think him retiring at 45 is going to be something that he's going to be able to do. So he's going to have to seek part-time employment at the age of 45. Back to you, our table topic master.
Thank you very much, April. I can think of a cartoon character. When I hear your description of the problem, I can tell you my wife's never going to have that problem because I don't do things around the house. Next question. What is the silliest thing you are pretty good at? What is the silliest thing you're pretty good at? Graham, I don't think you have a role tonight. Will you care to answer that question?
I'm perfectly happy to answer your question, Mr. Topics Master. And if you were to ask my wife what's the silliest thing that I'm good at, she would tell you that it is, in fact, I am a world-class purveyor of dad jokes. Now, they're terrible dad jokes. They really are. But I love dad jokes. In fact, twice a year, I have people who follow me on Facebook, but I also have probably a greater number of people who snooze me on Facebook for a month, because twice a year, I do a month of dad jokes. There's Joke Lie every July, and then there's Dadcember every December. The fact that they both have punny names says everything that needs to be said about my love for dad jokes. I did notice before, for example, the dad joke that BTC came up with about sunscreen and dad screen. That's one that I haven't used but will use. I also know, for example, that with a multicultural audience like this, you probably know why the Norwegian Navy have barcodes on the side of their ships. It's so they can scan the Navy in. Or why Switzerland's flag is such a big plus. But there are so many dad jokes that I tell. This is the silliest thing that I do. But I've got to say, I think I'm pretty good at it. Whether my wife would agree, that is an entirely different question. And from the snorts that I can hear coming from the lounge room out there, I suspect I know the answer. Mr. Table Topics Master.
I would agree you're pretty good at it, Graham. Thanks for sharing that answer. Probably the last question of the day for the table topics. If you could hang out just with any cartoon character, who would you choose and why? If you could hang out with a cartoon character, who would you choose and why? John Santos, you like to participate with us?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is John, and I'm a guest for today. If I were to hang out with a cartoon character, who would I choose and why? If I were to hang out with a cartoon character, I would choose to hang out with Son Goku from Dragon Ball Z. That's because he's a strong man and he protects people. He has superpowers, and most importantly, he can fly. And if I have a superpower, I would love to fly so that I could travel anywhere in the world. And I can bring my family anywhere. And that's why I would like to choose Son Goku from Dragon Ball Z as my favorite character to hang out with.
Thank you very much, John. Thanks for participating. That will certainly be something really, really cool to do. I want to thank everyone for playing today, and we're just in time with the agenda, so I'll turn this back to Kim, our Toastmaster of the day. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Hector, for the hilarious questions and the laughter that your questions brought us. Brian David Crawford, could you please provide the timers report for table topics?
Sure thing. I just threw in the chat. Evelyn went at 2:13, April at 1:46, Graham at 1:43, and John, just take a deeper breath at the end, man. 59 seconds. You almost hit that minute, buddy. Back to you, Kim.
Thank you. Our next portion of the meeting is the evaluation portion. Our general evaluator for tonight is Lai Sing Zhu. Please welcome Lai Sing.
Hello, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It's my pleasure to serve as the general evaluator. This is the most important to me, in my opinion, section of our evening, because in this section, we are going to listen to our evaluators to give their insight on the strengths and weakness of our speeches, and so that we all can learn from their insights. With that, I'm going to call our first evaluator, Jim Barber, to evaluate Toastmaster Birgit Starmanns' speech. Jim, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, my fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guests, and especially our newest member, Lynn, and of course, Birgit Starmanns. I'm trying to get myself positioned on video here and having a little bit of a hard time with it. And that kind of ties in with what Birgit was doing. I was talking to Birgit before her presentation, and she told me that she is trying to balance performing, which is what we're all doing here on video, and authenticity. Birgit, I had the opportunity a number of years ago to talk with Bill Gove. Bill was the first president of the National Speakers Association. He was a phenomenal speaker. And he told me that he spends approximately, in preparing for a presentation, in preparing for a speech, he spends approximately 10% of his time memorizing the presentation. And he spent about 90% of the time trying to figure out how to make it look like it wasn't memorized. And that's basically what you were trying to do this evening. Congratulations, you nailed it. This was a great presentation. It was an authentic presentation. It was like you were holding a conversation with us. And yet you weren't. It was a performance, but it was an authentic performance. Congratulations, you nailed the balance of the two of them. The best way of illustrating that is with your eye contact. I was going to mention this before you mentioned it yourself. Eye contact is so important. It's so important for us to look at the camera, but some people take that into thing of that they're going to establish an eye contact with the camera and they're never going to look away and they're never going to blink. And you didn't do that. You had phenomenal eye contact, but every now and then, every few seconds, you would look off to the left, look off to the right, as though there were other people that you were having a conversation with. That was natural and that was terrific. And that describes everything that you did tonight. Your pauses, your pacing, your gestures, all of it was natural. It was though you were performing a conversation, having a conversation with somebody else. I have a couple of suggestions for you. They're minor little things. The first one is a couple of times in your presentation, your gestures, which were very good, went off screen. That is authentic, but it's not effective because once it gets off screen, we start to wonder about what we're missing. So keep your gestures authentic as you were doing, but try to keep them on screen. The other thing, it's a tiny little thing, but you ended with, let's see, lost it there. There we are. As a part of this presentation, Madam Toastmaster, try this as a part of this presentation. Madam Toastmaster. Put a 2-beat pause in there at the end of it. It'll make the closing a little stronger, but congratulations. This was authentic. This was great. I'm looking forward to your next one. Madam General Evaluator.
Our second evaluator will be Andrei Smoleko. He will be evaluate our second speaker, Pamela Benjamin's speech. Andrei, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator, fellow online presenters, guests, and most importantly, Pamela. What an inspirational speech. Just to demonstrate the point, out of 28 people present at our meeting today, I want you to lift your hand up if you got inspired by Pamela's speech today. And I would like to see all them hands. Just thank you. Just to demonstrate the points, Pamela, there's something that you share with me prior to your speech. You really wanted to inspire people to move, to exercise, to lead a happy life. I think that row of hands is an excellent answer to your question. You started your speech with a family-related story that a few people in your family perhaps were not that dedicated to a healthier lifestyle as yourself. You learn a lesson. Then, what I really like, you continue with a number of personal stories as well. You told about your friend who is real why for exercising wasn't leading happy lives, healthier lifestyle. That was something else, and how you helped her to transport your idea from one little mindset into much bigger picture. Then, of course, you mentioned about that app, your personal application that helped you to stay healthier and stay stronger as well. Visual effects, they were really stylish, really great and to the point. Your vocal variety as well, it did transpire throughout your speech. Even though, let's share with the audience, you had just an hour or so to prepare your speech. And as previous evaluator said, you nail it. You really nail it, Pamela. Also, I pay attention into the chat. After your speech, a number of people just shared, well done, Pamela, you inspired me. Isn't it just the cherry on top of the cake of your speech? There are a few things that I would like to perhaps make suggestion that could take your speech even to the next level. One, I want to know about that app. If you mention about the app that changed your life, I want to know what that app is and how to get it. Point number two, if you present in speech about movement, exercise, lifestyle, make the audience, make us exercise just a bit. Let's stretch your hands up and show me your exercise, or pull your hands up and then you will feel the energy flowing. Just those two basic things. An overall inspiring speech, well presented in a short period of time. Pamela, you inspired me. Let's exercise. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Audrey, for your excellent evaluation. Our third evaluator will be Sonia Mangana, and she will be evaluate Mary Dilling's speech, and let's give her a warmest applause.
Good day, fellow Toastmasters, and particularly the third speaker tonight, Mary Ruth Dilling. What a wonderful speech. You explained exceptionally well a complicated 16-grid Myers-Briggs matrix of the 16 personalities that we encounter every day, whether professionally or personally. You had exemplary audience engagement tonight, and you came across extremely authentic. The comparison of your younger self to the older adult, if I may say, explaining us the dichotomies of an INFJ were spectacular. I, as a fellow INFJ, trying to navigate the world for the last 40 plus years, and hopefully for the next 40 plus years, it has been an adventure. Deeply, sometimes I can relate to you about being deeply understood and trying to find your own path as a 1%. Couple of suggestions for you. One would be that you could pull in your audience members more with a few more questions earlier in your presentation, such as, did you ever feel alone? Did you ever feel misunderstood? Were you the last person picked on your team by your fellow classmates? Maybe those kind of questions could, with people responding via chat, would pull us in further deeply into this conversation we are having with you. Perhaps you could add in a little bit more color with your 1%, to add to the life as a 1%er. That would help us to understand our misunderstood INFJ selves. Your presentation was excellent. The conclusion and call to action was perfect. It could be connected with your personal stories with why you were misunderstood. I do love the way you concluded your speech. It was very powerful. One-way valve, I felt so intensely and thought so deeply, but was never understood. I was out of step with why others didn't get to open up, or I could not open up to the new world. It was very powerful. With a few things, it could be sensational. Thank you, Mary Ruth Dilling, a fellow INFJ. Back to you, General Evaluator Lai Shing-ju.
Thank you, Sonia, for your insightful evaluation. Timer, would you please give us the report about our evaluator's time?
Sure thing. I've just thrown it into the chat. Jim, you barely got in there, buddy. 329, Andre 119, 319, and Surya, I apologize. I may have said your name wrong. 251.
251. All right, so everyone qualifies. So Toastmasters, would you please send your vote for the best evaluator to our vote counter, Donna Knight. So the next, we're going to have our functionaries to give our 1-minute report. First, I'm going to call on our grammarian, Antoinette Kim. Antoinette, floor is yours. Is Antoinette there?
Yes, I'm here. I was there voting. Okay, as grammarian, like the word hilarious was extremely difficult word because just one person used the word. However, there were some interesting phrases from the speakers like Birgit. Yes, there's not authentic. Another phrase she used, every word punctuated by a guest there. Pamela, oh my word. In Trinidad and Tobago, we will say, oh my God. So that was unique for me. And Mary Ruth, the dichotomy of being an INFJ. All in all, the various phrases were well done. And sorry to say, I don't know if maybe for the remainder of the meeting, we can just use hilarious. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Antoinette. So next will be Calvin, our watcher, Calvin Dorsey. Calvin, please give your 1-minute report.
I'd be happy to. My first observation was of the chat area with the tremendous support that we gave to our newest member tonight, Evelyn. The support that I saw was inspiring to me, and I hope that it let Evelyn know that she's more than welcome here. In addition to that, I noticed the backgrounds, the virtual backgrounds, Surya and Rosanna and Marty in particular. I noticed that their virtual backgrounds were very exciting and pleasant for me to take a look at and brought joy to me as I sat here. In terms of other observations, I noticed that there's a difference in the energy. When someone is making a prepared speech, everyone is basically focused in and watching. What about using our following skills? Because presenters get energy from the audience. What about nodding, smiling, moving your hands? Those kinds of gestures help a speaker along. It gives them energy, it invigorates them, it gives them confidence. I also noticed limited applause. There was not one occasion in which I saw everybody clapping. In Toastmasters, we generally clap at everything. I like to represent Kim Lenning. Yay! Here's the grammarian. Yay! Clap all the time because it gives everybody energy. Overall, I enjoyed watching this evening. Back to you. I'm an evaluator.
Thank you, Calvin. Next will be our AHA counter, Lucas Calafel. Let's clap for Lucas.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. We did very well today with only 21 total crutch words. You can see your name in column B, all the different crutch words from D to N. You can also see your total down by column O. Total of 21, as I mentioned. Our most popular one appears to be at 48%. Back to you.
Thank you, Lucas. Next, our chat monitor, Deborah Carl. Let's welcome her.
Well, everyone, it's been an interesting evening in the chat. Initially, BDC put in the app if you're interested in downloading it for your phone. And then it got quiet with the speeches and everything. But we welcomed Evelyn. And then, as I said, it started calming down with the speeches. The hot topic that I noticed was, which cartoon character would you like to meet? And so many of us added to that. You could also tell what time era we watch cartoons, since we're not doing it as much now. But overall, the chat was quiet, but yet fun to watch again tonight. So that's my report.
Thank you, Deborah, for your report. Let's clap. So, as a general evaluator, it's my duty to give a general evaluator of the whole meeting. Overall, it's a great meeting. The meeting starts on time, and I especially love the topics of today, which laughter is the best medicine. And I see more laughter than most of our meetings today. And we have wonderful prepared speech. We have wonderful table topics, and we have topic speeches, and we have wonderful evaluators and evaluations. And I love the suggestion that Kevin gave us for clamping for everything. I really take it into my heart. And that's my report for today. And before I turn this meeting, the podium to our Toastmaster, the last thing I will call for our vote counter to announce the winners for today.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Your vote declared our best speaker this evening as Birgit Starmanns. Congratulations. Let's see those applause. We spoke about it a minute ago. Thank you. For our best evaluator, we have Toastmaster Jim Barber. And congratulations to and welcome to our new member who is our best table topic presenter. Thank you all. I will see you next year. This is no joke. He'll continue being funny at the end. Madam Toastmaster of the Day, back to you.
Thank you, Donna. So now I will turn the podium to our Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Lai Sing. And thank you to everyone for filling my night with wonderful speeches, hilarity, and of course, laughter. So I'm going to end this with one more quick joke. A guy was driving in a car with a blonde. He told her to stick her head out the window to see if the turn signal was working. She stuck her head out and said, yes, no, yes, no, yes. Okay, I will now hand the meeting back to our president, Lou Brown.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Kim Leeming. That was hilarious, which I guess we can add that to our grammarian report. Didn't get a chance to slide that in further. Thank you. Wonderful meeting tonight. Thank you very much to to you, Kim, our Toastmaster of the Day. Again, second time in 4 weeks. Way to go. Our Topics Master, Hector. Excellent questions. Our GE, Lai Sing. Our speakers, our role holders, and Donna. That was a great vote counter presentation. I really like that. That's taking things to a whole new level. Much as other folks in our club have taken things to new levels, like the statistical counter chart that Lucas, I don't know if you prepared that originally. I know several folks have used it, but excellent addition to the meeting. That's wonderful. Thank you to Irvling. Congratulations, new member of Online Presenters. I'm sure Marianne will be following up with you on next steps and so forth, so be on the lookout for that email. We have a guest who participated in Table Topics. I would love to hear what you gained from our meeting this evening. It's evening for me. I'm not sure where you're at, John, but feel free to share what you gained from our meeting today.
I thought the speakers are great. And I like that it's a big group. Everyone is excited to be here. It's an amazing experience.
Awesome. And you know what? I realized that you had also come in pretty close to when we started. Where are you from, John? Where are you calling us from? And are you a current Toastmaster, or what is your situation?
Yeah, I live in South San Francisco, California. And I was a part of a different Toastmasters club. Right now, I'm trying to get back to Toastmasters and trying to join different clubs as a guest and see what time works best for me. And see if, see what works.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. And yes, Marianne will also be following up with you to see how, provide you some additional information about Online Presenters. So thank you again for joining us this evening. We appreciate it. This is due season, folks. You may have received an email from Pamela, our treasurer. If you have not, please check your spam folder. Dues are but, I guess, a few days away in terms of the last date for renewing before we go into October 1st. I'm not sure if there's a grace period. There used to be, but so much has changed with Toastmasters. Who knows? Anyway, we'd love to have you all continue. I guess that's a no from Andy. We'd love to have you continue to be a member of our club. Thank you all for your continued support. We look forward to seeing you every week. I'm going to officially close the meeting. However, sorry, Andy, please mute for a second. I tend to hear a lot of echoing when, for some reason, folks have mentioned there's some echoing. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. So I'm officially going to close the meeting, but please stay on afterward as we will have our post-meeting party. And I know Andy is very interested in having folks consider roles for our next meeting. Meeting officially closed. Please stop the recording.